Welcome to another episode of that deep, where we connect the dots. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about something that I should have been talked about, but haven't really talked about. So we're going to talk about the third eye, aka the pineal gland, BKA the first eye. Let's get it. So check it out. So the third eye, man, it's almost a commonplace term to use for those who say that they're woke. But it's ironic that if you use that word woke and wake to talk about your awareness, because being conscious just simply means being aware. And a lot of people think that it's very cool to be conscious or aware or woke now. But when we really break down the whole institution and the whole essence of being aware, it's not just being socially aware, it's not just being ethnically aware or nationality wise aware, if that's a word. It's about being aware of yourself, of oneself. You know what I mean? And to truly be aware of oneself, I'm going to take a passage out of the Bible. One of the very few times that you'll hear me do this, but let thy eye be single, and the body shall be filled with light. Not sure what chapter and verse that is, but Google it. That is the true essence of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Let thy eye be single. Okay? So, what is this referring to? It's referring to the third eye, better yet known as the pineal gland. Now, when it comes to the pineal gland, you have to understand that it is a part of the brain. Okay? It is the part of the brain that connects to the mind. The mind and the brain, two totally different things. But it is the part of the brain that actually connects to the mind, or i.e., universal mind, which is what we call creation itself, or what people are in chase of as God. But God is everything, and the universe is mental. Okay, so, but you have to understand how the brain works. Two hemispheres, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, right? Left hemisphere is in charge of everything that's logical, everything that's um, quantitative, if you will, right? Linear, mathematical, okay? So, the right hemisphere of the brain is creative, chaotic, spontaneous, in charge of things like art and creation. Right? Both hemispheres of the brain, or the brain in its entirety, is filled with neurons or nerves. Okay, so these neurons, or nerves, I should say, neurons travel upon the nerves, I'm sorry, have two ways to them. They have transmission or transmitters, and they have receptors or receivers, right? So this is imperative to understand. So, because when it comes to the pineal gland has millions of nerve endings. The only thing that's comparable to the pineal gland is the woman's clitoris. It has probably more nerve endings than the pineal. And that is just, as I sidebar, that is just another testament of how great or how grand women are as a species. They have more components than we do as men. So ultimately, they're more complete than we are because they have two organs that are pulsating on a major level. All right. After I digress and bring it back around, back to the pineal gland, right? So what happens is to truly become this state of wakefulness or this woke state that people think they're talking about when they understand history or when they understand different subjects greater or more than other people, and they call it woke, and that's really not what it is. True wakefulness is to understand or to connect the nerve endings from one hemisphere, like the right, and connect them with the left hemisphere nerve endings, the transmitters and the receptors. Once you do this, it it sparks the pineal gland because the pineal gland is tied into all of them. There is a stem that kind of sits right behind the pineal gland. The name of the stem escapes me at the time, but it may be called the pineal stem, but I'm pretty sure if I upload this video, I'll put a picture up of the stem. But a lot of nerve endings come into this point. And it's funny that it sits right in the middle of the brain, and it makes a lot of sense of why it does. Once you infuse the right hemisphere of the brain, the light comes on. The eye wakens and decalcifies. How to do this? You have to open your mind.
Open your eyes.
You have to open your mind. You have to be receptive to a lot of things beyond the conditioning and the training that has been put onto your brain. You have to realize that you have been trained to learn a certain way. You have been trained to think a certain way. You know, so you have to erase pretty much majority of what you think you know and start all over from scratch like you don't know nothing. You have to pick up something like this and be like, what's this? I don't know. Keys. And understand what a key is all the way from the bottom up. Okay? Now, also what's very imperative to understand is the reason why it's called a third eye is because just like in your two eyes, it reacts to light. It receives light codes just like your eye does, your normal two eyes do, right? And what's very important to understand is that every sense that you have of the five senses all get tied into the brain as a whole, but specifically the pineal gland, because like I mentioned earlier, it is actually the part of the brain that is connected to spirit. Because of the pineal gland and the chemicals that it releases, we can dream. It is the reason why we dream, actually. Okay? It is the reason why we can see when we dream. It's the reason why we can smell when we dream, touch when we dream, hear when we dream. Because think about this. When you're dreaming, are you really hearing something from this? No. Are you really saying something from this? No. Are you touching? Are you really seeing light from these? No. But yet, the pineal gland can see, touch, taste, smell, and hear because it is the part of the brain that is connected to the mind. Okay? It should be almost dubbed the dream gland, to be honest with you. The astral gland is what it should be called, to be honest with you. It's the doorway. Okay? So, with that being said, just like your two eyes, right? When the pineal gland gets exposed to sunlight, it reacts just like your eyes do. Okay? It absorbs, it dilates just like your eyes do to take in light, to only process these light codes, light photons, and turn them into melatonin. It converts light into melatonin. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So this is a byproduct of melatonin and the enzymes of which we call melanin. So this is a gift from the pineal. So just like your eyes have nerve endings that connect to the pineal, everything else have nerve endings that ultimately travel back to the pineal. That's why I mentioned your five senses: hear, taste, touch, smell, and see. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. So, right? But there's an opposite, right? Because like I said, nerves have receptors and transmitters, right? So your pineal can also transmit. So it receives, but it can also transmit. This is the basis of tapping into super potential. I'm not going to say the phrase superhuman powers because that sounds unrealistic, but it gives you the opportunity to tap into super potential because of the neurotransmission from the look. I got that president 3-finger combo. You might see a variation of this or this. It's when you're serious about something, right? But it gives you the ability to touch better, to feel better. Literally, you can feel things better. You have a better rhythm with things. You can taste better. You can smell better because of the transmission of the pineal, right? You can hear better. But it's a cycle because since you can hear better, it receives what you're doing better. So like I said, this is a gift of the third eye. This is a gift of the pineal gland. I mean, don't take it for granted. Is what I meant to say. Don't take it for granted. Use it. Don't just be, I'm woke.
Houston, we have a problem. Man, you woke.
But you ain't. Don't just throw an unk on and feel that like you made it. You ain't made it. Fuck out of here. Anyways, all right, man. I'm gonna hit you up with a part 2 to the pineal gland, aka the third eye. Stay tuned. You already know the drill. NewMysterySchool.com. Log on. Come check your boy out. I got some things on the way. Gonna update the site. We're gonna refresh some things. We're gonna make it real jazzy. And book that study session. Talk to you.